What up, y'all? Tina here. So, it's been a lot going on. Make sure y'all subscribe to my channel and like the video. I gotta buy Beyonce tickets next week, so I need all the little coin that I can gather, okay? It's real serious business outside. All right, so much has happened this past week or 2 weeks in Marvel news. So in this video, we'll talk about Nate Moore saying that they're not gonna recast T'Challa. We'll talk about the rumor that Jonathan Majors is being considered to come back for Kang. And maybe we'll talk about X-Men a little bit, but let's get into the video. All right, first up, let's talk about Jonathan Majors. So the rumor is Kevin Feige may be interested in bringing Jonathan Majors back as Kang. Now, I don't believe this rumor, but I do think that it is possibly on the table. I don't think that Kevin Feige is sitting home like, I wonder what Jonathan Majors is doing. Absolutely not. Kevin Feige is probably saying one less headache for him, okay? He don't care. What is a possibility is the Russos may be tossing this idea around. Now, the reason I do not believe this rumor at all is because they're about to start filming like in a few months. If he was coming back, especially for like Doomsday, the deal would be done. What I think there's a chance for is him maybe making a return for Secret Wars, because I think Secret Wars is going to be pushed back until like 2028. I don't think it's making that 2027 date. That's enough time for people to be disconnected from Jonathan Majors and the legal incident that he got into. So it's a possibility, maybe Secret Wars. Now the question is, and anybody who has been following me knows, my question has always been, who is advocating for him to come back? And this is why I mention Coogler so much, because they give him creative control for a lot of stuff to do. Not 100%, but he does have a pretty long rope. But he's not the only one. James Gunn had that rope, and the Russos have that rope too. Ryan Reynolds as well. So, if the Russos sit down and say, Kevin, we really want Jonathan Majors back, I think Kevin Feige would say, absolutely not. We can't do it. It's a PR nightmare. Now, if the Russos keep pushing the issue, then he may cave in and see what can be done. I've always said Jonathan Majors would need for the Russos, or hell, even RDJ himself, to advocate for him to come back. Now, do I see these men doing that for Jonathan? Nah, I don't see it. Can I see Jonathan Majors coming back for Secret Wars? It's a possibility. Everything is fair game. It just depends on if one of the big three want to get on the phone with Kevin Feige and call to make it happen. Because let me ask you this. Think about this. Do you think it was Kevin Feige's idea to bring Killmonger back, or Ryan Coogler? What about Blade and Deadpool? Do you think Kevin Feige really was sitting home and saying, hey, I think we should call Wesley Snipes up? No, that was Ryan Reynolds. So this is why I don't believe this rumor. When I start seeing that the Russos want Jonathan back, then maybe I get a little excited. But until then, Jonathan, get on social media and get into James Gunn's DMs. Okay, just move on to DC, my boy. The Russos only cared about bringing RDJ back. Nobody else, all right? They came in with the mindset that we got to clean up this Jonathan Majors issue, and the only way we're coming back is if you bring RDJ back, all right? So this is why I don't believe this rumor, but I also say that everything is kind of fair game right now. We're seeing a lot of crazy things going on. All right, next up, Ryan Coogler, T'Challa, and Nate Moore news. So before we get into this story, let's get some things straight, because a lot of people are confused and they're using a lot of these words interchangeably. You have T'Challa, Toussaint, and a variant. Those are 3 different characters we're dealing with. Write it down in your notepad so you can follow along, all right? So Nate Moore, one of the executives at Marvel, came out and said, listen, we're not recasting T'Challa. There's no truth to those rumors. We haven't even talked to Ryan Coogler yet. All right, so the corporate America side of me is like, good job, Nate, for setting the record straight. But the comic book nerd in me is like, bruh, why you just ain't hush for the next 5 to 6 years? Because you are about to get drugged through the mud for saying y'all ain't recasting T'Challa. So let's rewind and see how all this got started. So Jeff Snyder dropped the scoop and said he heard they were recasting T'Challa, but it could be a multiversal variant. That's what was in his newsletter. So then I got on the phone, I called some of my peoples, I jumped in some DMs, and they told me that they heard Coogler ain't talked to nobody from Marvel, and Toussaint is what we rocking with. I then put out a video and said, listen, y'all, Coogler ain't talking to nobody about recasting T'Challa. He's seen Toussaint through. However, Jeff Snyder's reporting, and due to what I heard on the curb, there has been rumblings about a variant. I then said, Tamsin Idris has met with Marvel. I don't know for what role, But I'm hearing that folks is turning down the role mainly because Coogler is not at the table. And most actors know this is probably a short-term variant. So they rather roll the dice and see if Coogler ages up the kid, and then maybe one of them can fit into their role. All right, so My Time to Shine comes out and says these couple things. My Time to Shine says they're looking at these 3 actors for T'Challa, which is Aaron Pierre, John David Washington, and Kelvin Harris. He also said whoever turned down the role was too busy and that they heard it's the kid that's aged up. Let me tell you something. Listen to me. Come on in. Listen to me. They have not started casting for Toussaint, T'Challa Jr. So when My Time to Shine throws out these are the people they're looking at for T'Challa, it can't be for T'Challa Jr. It can't be for Toussaint. I don't see Toussaint being casted in Doomsday or Secret Wars without Ryan Coogler sitting at the table. So this is where we start talking about the T'Challa variant. And I think Nate Moore has always been very, very clear with his wording. He said, we will not recast T'Challa in the 616 universe, and I 1000% believe that. That does leave the door open for variants, though. Ryan Coogler has established enough cachet that this ain't 2016 when somebody else casted T'Challa. Listen to my words and listen very clear because all this can get very confusing and tricky. If we're listening to My Time to Shine, and they're saying that they're aging T'Challa for Secret Wars and Doomsday, Ryan Coogler has to be at that meeting. And I've been saying for the longest, Ryan Coogler ain't talked to them boys at Marvel, and it has nothing to do with Sinners, okay? I see Nate Moore threw that out like, oh, Ryan's been busy with Sinners. It ain't got nothing to do with Sinners. Coogler just ain't talking to them because he in his own bubble, writing his own story, doing his own thing. Do you know how surprised Kevin Feige probably was to hear that Denzel said that he gonna be in Black Panther 3? Kevin Feige probably was sitting at home like, who had been saying that? Who said that? Who said that? Who said that? Because Coogler is making his moves on the side. He has a pretty good idea at where he's going with Black Panther 3. That ain't got nothing to do with what they got going on right now in Secret Wars or Doomsday, all right? He don't care what they got going on as long as they don't start messing with his story and what he got going on. So Nate Moore's telling the truth. They're not recasting T'Challa. They never was. I've always believed how all this dust is getting kicked up, especially from Snyder, is because it's a variant. They were never going to retcon what Coogler had set up. They were never going to revive T'Challa. It was never going to be a scroll. It was never going to be he's in outer space. That was never happening. Jeff Snyder heard this recasting news from a talent agency, and he heard that Marvel is trying to find somebody for T'Challa. Jeff was just not sure if it's for T'Challa Jr., a variant, or the OG 616 T'Challa. So when we look at these 3 options, it's not OG 616 T'Challa, it's not T'Challa Jr. Only thing we have left is a variant. You will start hearing Toussaint casting rumors around 2026, 2027, because Toussaint is about to be the T'Challa. Now, will the Russos cast their own variant or variants? How do you do Secret Wars without T'Challa? Shuri is no longer the Black Panther, or maybe she is. Do you now assign all those Black Panther T'Challa duties in Secret Wars from the comics to Letitia Wright, someone who doesn't want all that smoke, or do you bring in a variant? I'm not buying this whole they're casting for T'Challa Jr. right now without Ryan Coogler's input. So if they're casting for T'Challa, it's a variant, and they will not be casting for T'Challa Jr. this early for Black Panther 3. It's too far down the line. I just said that on the stream when it was me, Chill, Blue, some of the other fellas over on Darius's site. I said, y'all are thinking too far down the pipeline. We have to even first start with Doomsday. We can't even get to Black Panther 3 without getting through Doomsday. So if they're casting for T'Challa, it's 1000% not 616 because he's passed on. Can things change? Yes. Can Coogler have a spiritual awakening and say, you know what? I do want to recast the OG T'Challa. Yeah, he can change his mind. Will that happen? His teeth is pretty sunk in on Toussaint T'Challa Jr. You have a better shot at getting a variant with the Russos. I have never bought into this idea that they're going to age Toussaint up for Doomsday or Secret Wars. Then I cast him for T'Challa Jr. without Ryan Coogler at that table. So when My Time to Shine is hearing that the child is going to be in Doomsday or Secret Wars, nope, not buying it. They would have to already have this kid casted. I don't know how Coogler's going to age him up by the time we get to Black Panther 3. it really depends on what happens in Doomsday and Secret Wars. But how do y'all feel about Nate Moore saying we're not recasting T'Challa? Now, let's take a look at what Alex said over at the Cosmic Wonder. They're kind of plugged in, you know, a little bit. He's echoing my sentiments as well. Now, let's pay attention to this question. Let me pull it up here. All right, so Alex got a lot of things correct on the Loki TV show. So he obviously has some plugs over in at Marvel for certain things as well. He's kind of like all the other scoopers. He's kind of hit and miss depending on who he's plugged in with. But he did a Q&A in his Discord, and let's take a look at the question. It says, "Hey, Alex, I hope you're having a good year so far. With the rumor that Marvel is considering a recast for T'Challa, will this be a variant only that appears in Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, or will this be a new T'Challa moving into Black Panther 3 and beyond?" All right. So Alex says, to my understanding, it's going to be Toussaint T'Challa II moving forward for Black Panther 3, but that does not eliminate the possibility of other Black Panther variants showing up in the Avengers film beforehand. I do want to take advantage of your question to address Black Panther 3 and do want to say what I've heard about the film and its theme. Compared to previous film, Ryan Coogler is interested in leaning into a more horror, supernatural thriller tone for this film. So Alex is saying the same thing that I'm saying. We get into T'Challa Jr. and you might see some variants in Secret Wars. Now, about this theory that he heard that Black Panther 3 may be a horror, supernatural, I mean, I ain't heard that. That ain't to say this ain't true. I ain't heard that, but I also didn't ask about the tone or the vibe of what the feeling is going to be for Black Panther 3, but I don't see that happening. There's also rumors that Denzel Washington may be playing Achebe. I don't see that happening either. I think these things are starting to sound a little too parallel, like Sinners and Black Panther 3 having horror elements, and then Denzel being in Gladiator, but then he's also going to be Achebe, who also takes over the throne in the comics. I just don't know. I think it's too far down the line. And how do I say this? Let me find a way to say this. The white folks don't know what Ryan Coogler doing. Not the scoopers, not even Marvel themselves. They don't know. So I ain't buying none of this. All right. I'm not buying Achebe, and I'm not buying the supernatural vibe. Now, if something happens and Denzel is Achebe, I'll eat these words. I just ain't feeling it right now. I ain't seeing it. We just gonna sit and wait on this and see what the Denzel casting is gonna be, as well as the tone. I can't see Ryan Coogler telling a coming of age story about T'Challa Jr. dipped into horror and supernatural. Nah, not his style. No, I don't see that happening. Nope. All right, next up, X-Men. There has been quite a bit of potential X-Men castings floating around that I don't believe none of it. Do I think Marvel is making a list and checking it twice? Yes. Do I think that they are actively casting? No. And the reason I say no is there's not a director tied to this X-Men project. We have a writer. Somebody's writing the script, but there's no director tied to it. All right, here are some of the X-Men potential casting rumors. So, for Storm, we're hearing Ayo Edebiri. So, since they're going younger, I can see them looking at her because she's already in the Disney pipeline. She's done a project or two with them. I can believe she's on that call sheet. Yeah, I can believe she's on the list. I would prefer Kiki Lane, but by the time we get to the X-Men, Kiki will be aged out of the role. So yeah, I can see Ayo being on this list. Can she pull the role off? A young Storm? Maybe. We'll see. All right, another rumor coming from, I think Jeff Snyder said this, that they're looking at Sadie Sink for Jean Grey. I can see it. I can rock with it. I'm jiggy with that one. I like that one. Now, for Cyclops, we've had two names tied to him, Jack Champion and Harris Dickinson. Look, I would be cool with either one of them. Either one of these castings is all right with me. I think we also need to know how young are we going. Are we talking like teenagers young or in their 20s? Because that makes a big difference, okay? That changes things. And I feel like whoever they give this X-Men job to, the director, they're probably going to want them to do at least 3 projects with Marvel. And most of the time, directors want to be into the casting room to help make these type of decisions because they're the ones that have to work with these actors on a daily basis. Now, as much as it breaks my heart, I do believe that they are going younger. And the reason I believe this is Marvel is just trying to save money. I think they're going to do this just like House of the Dragon. We're going to have 3 movies with younger actors, and then they'll bring in a whole new crew to be the adults, okay? Now, in a perfect world, whoever you cast for the kid X-Men, you'd want them to stay around with the franchise long enough to age into the characters. Unfortunately, capitalism is always going to win. They don't want to keep these actors around for 10 to 15 years because then the actors will be like, well, I want more money. Can you imagine whoever is Cyclops or Storm and they sitting down by year 7 and they're like, I want that 20 million you gave RDJ. And then all the X-Men say they want 20 million. They're not going to do that. Nah. So this is why I think if they are going younger, it's going to be for short term. And then they just going to recast all over again with adult actors. Other X-Men rumors, people are reporting that the Russos may stick around to steer the Mutant Saga. Okay. I may be the one on an island by myself, but I don't like nothing about this. I know a lot of MCU fans love the Russos, but the Russos are batting 2 out of 4 for me, okay? They've done 4 movies, and I only like Civil War and Infinity War. I know everybody else loved The Winter Soldier, but that movie, it's just alright to me. And Endgame, the pacing was terrible, okay? In hindsight, I can't watch Endgame. It's too slow. Fast forward to the end when Chadwick come out of the portal. That's where I start Endgame at. So, having the Russos potentially steer the ship, which I don't believe, but having them man the Titanic, it feels so predictable, safe, not creative. And this is coming from one of the most profitable movie studios in history, who banked on tier 2 level characters, who tried different things. The business side of me is saying, yes, this is a good move. Get the Russos. They're safe. They're comfortable. The creative side of me is like, yo, this is lazy, bro. This is lazy. Now, if you tell me that one of the Russo brothers may be taking Nate Moore's role as an executive producer, I mean, I might be okay with that because then they would be more so overseers and not necessarily like completely controlling the saga. They would just come in for a little help here and there. But them like actually being very involved on a high level with the Mutant Saga, I don't like it. That's just me. I don't like it. I get it. Kevin Feige can't be in 12 places at once, but ain't nobody else there at Marvel that can do this job. Y'all ain't got nobody else that can do this. I don't like it. How do y'all feel? Leave your comments below. How do you feel about Nate Moore's comments about T'Challa? Do y'all want Jonathan Majors back as Kang? Thanks for hanging out with me. Leave your comments below. Peace.